Assalamu alaikum, my name is Taimur Sikandar and today we are going to create our next video of City Guide application, which is the onboarding screen. As you can see, we have created our overview video, then we have created our basic setup of Android Studio, then we have created our splash screen, and now today we are going to create our onboarding screen, which is the third video apart from the overview video. So in this onboarding screen, let me please show you what we are going to create. So as you can see on your screen, the splash screen appears. This splash screen is we have created in the previous video. So when the first time user logged in, or when the first time user open its application, he will see after the splash screen an onboarding screen. You can see we have an image, heading, and then text. Then we have a skip button at the top, and then we have a bottom button, a simple arrow, and then we have dots, sliders over here. We can slide it with the hand, and when you reach at the last slide, a button with some slides, with some animations, using some animations appeared. When you go back, then button will disappear. So this is what we are going to create when we going to skip it and we move to our dashboard screen. So let me close this one and run it again. So when we run it again, splash screen appears as usual, and then dashboard is appeared instead of onboarding screen. So this is what we are going to create. So let's get started. Okay, open the project. As you can see, we have created the splash screen in our part 2. So for this tutorial, first of all, we need to add the strings in our project. So go to the resources, values, and open the strings.xml. And as you can see, I have already added the titles and descriptions and the buttons strings we have to use in our onboarding screen. Then I have to use the images. So we have to add images in the drawable, and I already added images. Like I told you, we are using 3.6, which is the latest version, and it is not supporting the bash drawable importer plugin to import images. So if you don't know how to do that, you can check the video, link is in the description. It is part 1 of our City Guide app. Okay, after we have added the images and strings, go to the Java, go to this folder, and inside this common package, if you don't know what's going on, please watch my previous videos. So inside this common package, right click new and create a new activity, which will be empty activity, and we are going to name it onboarding, and click on the finish. Okay, once this is created, first of all we need to design our onboarding screen. So close strings and splash screens. Okay, first of all we need to design our onboarding screen. The first thing we need to do is we need to add a slider over here. So the slider means a view pager. Simply search for it and drag it on the screen. Then for the bottom button and for the dots, and then for the next button, we need to add a new layout here. So I am going to use relative layout. Simply put it here, not inside the view pager, but make sure it is in the constraint layout. Okay, so first thing we have at the top is a relative layout, and its height will be 150 dp. You can see it is at the top. Simply drag it. No, not in the view pager again. It should be in the constraint layout. Okay, so for the further designing, let's switch it to the split screen, and inside we have a view pager and a relative layout. Okay, for the relative layout, we want to place this relative layout at the bottom. So we need to search for the bottom, constraint bottom to bottom of, not to top of, but to bottom of this parent, and it will drag to the bottom of the screen. Then we need to create these side hooks. Simply you have to select this and it will be attached to its parent. Okay, our relative layout is ready, but you can see currently our view pager is covering the whole screen. So first of all, click on these constraints and simply drag it to the top, just above this relative layout. attach it with this, and also change its width to match parent and its height to let's say 100, any value. But first thing we want to do is we want to make sure that it is attached both vertical constraints, then make it 0 dp, so it will cover the whole screen of any device size. Because we want to make our things responsive, you can check my video on the constraint layout. Okay, we have created our view pager, and then we have designed our relative layout. So inside the relative layout, we want to add 2 to 3 things. The first thing is we want to write create a button which will be match parent and wrap content. Its text will be let's get started text, as we have defined strings in the strings folder. So it's a good practice, as I told you in my previous video. Okay, we want to add its background color, and it will be color primary. Pretty good. Our button is ready. We need to assign its ID as well, and the ID will be get started button. And also we need to assign the ID to view pager, and its ID will be slider. Yes, slider. Okay, we have created our button. Then inside this relative layout, we need to create the dots at the left bottom. So for the dots, I am going to use the linear layout. You can use any layout, it's up to you. So it will be wrap content, and it will be placed at the left bottom. So for that, search for bottom layout align parent bottom, make it true, and you can see it is at the left bottom. In here you can see it is at the left bottom of the relative layout. Just to make sure it is little above from the bottom, I am going to add a padding bottom with 20 dp. So that's it. It is currently not visible, but once we attach the dots dynamically, so it will be fit and fine. Okay, close this linear layout. Then the last thing we want to add inside this is a button, and the button will be wrap content, and wrap content, it will be at the bottom align parent bottom true, and also it will be to the right side align parent right true. Just remember that these things, align parent right, align parent bottoms, are only workable inside this relative layout, not in any other layout. So all the layouts have their own kind of keywords, so please do not confused. And also I am going to add the padding bottom as well. Will be 20 or maybe 30 dp for the button. Okay, close this one, and also we need to assign its ID, maybe next button. Okay, we want to make this transparent, so to make it transparent, search background and add the color. 30 means some color, then again 30 means some color. So to make it transparent, make sure you have 8 zeros in here. The last 20 means transparent inside Android Studio. And we want to add an arrow here, so the arrow I have added already. So to add these, add some icons inside the button, you have to search for the drawables, and you can place them end, bottom, left, right, start. So I am going to place it at the end, drawable end, and it will be next button. You can see a little arrow over there. Okay, currently what is the error? So it's just a warning. It is saying that use drawable right as well with the drawable end, no problem. Okay, as you can see, currently our design is attached to the parents without any space. So for that, go to the top, inside the parent layout, write padding 20 dp. Yes, you can see the space over here. So our design is ready for onboarding screen. So the next thing is we want to add some text or the slides over here. So for the slides, we have to first create the XML, and then we have to create our Java file. So for the XML file, go to the resource, and inside the layout right click new and create a new layout resource file, and we're going to name it slides layout. So in here we are just going to design the layout but not the actual slides. So slides layout and click OK. So in this we just want to define our design of the slides. So for our slides I am going to create one image, one heading and one description. So for the image, drag the image over here, and this is the any image you can use. Okay, make it at the top 0 from the left and right, and we are going to change its height to 400 dp, and the width will be 0 dp, which means match constraints. Okay, once we have added the image, then the next thing we want to add is our heading. Attach it with the image and make sure it is 0 right attached below this image, and also we need to add these constraints left and right. Okay, we also have to assign these IDs. Slider image, then the slider heading. Okay, first of all, design this. We need to add text size 30 sp, and the font family as we have imported is the Brandon one. So I am going to use the simple black. Okay, once done, we need to add one more text view here, and just to make sure it should be at the center. So one more thing, go to the search bar and search for the gravity and make it center here as well. Okay, let's place it at the center and add the constraints. Then add the constraint with the top and make it 0. Also we need to add slider description as its ID, and also we want to change its gravity to center. Okay, let me quickly change this text to first slide description. Yes, pretty good. We have a description, title and the image. Okay, for the image I want to add some padding here, 20 dp, to make it a little smaller. That's it for the slide layout. We have assigned it their IDs as well: slider image, slider heading and slider text description. Okay, once we have designed this layout, we are going to change these images dynamically from the Java class we are just going to create, and also we are going to set these headings and descriptions from there. So to do that, go to the Java, and inside in the helper classes I am going to put this adapter class in the helper classes folder. So right click new and create a new Java class and name it slider adapter class and click OK. So this adapter class will be used to show the images or show the slides on our main screen. There are a few functions we are going to create, so you have to follow me step by step in this class. So the first thing we want to do is to extend it with a page adapter. As you can see, it is currently showing the red line because we need to import something, some functions. So before importing that, before making you guys puzzle, we first need to create a context and the context variable. Okay, in this class we have to first create its constructor. Right click generate and click on this constructor button and click OK with the context. Okay, what this means is this slider class will be using some layout and on which activity we want to show this data. So the context means on which activity. So when we call this constructor and pass the context, so it means that on that specific activity we want to use this thing. Okay, after creating this constructor, we need to create three things, as we have one image, one heading and one description. So we need to create three arrays for them. So the first thing is integer type of array, images, and it's an array is equal to curly brackets and semicolon at the end. Okay, in here we just added the images, so I am going to write r dot images are in the drawable folder. Then we need to mention their name. The first is search place. Okay, once the images are added, press Alt Ctrl L to align. Okay, then we need to add another thing which is headings, and it is also an array, semicolon, and here this time the headings are in the strings file. So r.string dot, we need to mention the headings here. You can also simply mention the strings directly here, but the professional or the recommended way is to create strings first and then use over here for the whole project. And make sure that do not add a comma at the end of this like I added over here. Then we need to add descriptions, and it is also an array. Okay, remove the comma and we are done with three arrays. We simply get these images, text and descriptions inside our arrays. We are going to use them shortly. So now move to the top and it is saying to import some classes. So right click, show context, and implement this methods. We have two methods over here and click OK to add them. So the get count method simply means how many slides we are going to use in our project. So for that we can write it statically by 2, 3, 4, but try to use headings because a heading is in every slide. So I am writing headings dot length. So if in case our headings are going to increase, we can simply it will simply get it from over here. So you can again write statically, it's not that rocket science. Okay, then is view from object means is this view is using this object, and let me click create the first view. We want to return that view which is equal to, because not one equal means the assignment and we are returning basically a boolean. So we write equal to, then we have to go to the slides layout, and in here you can see we are using the constraint layout. So we have to mention that slide adapter and it is a constraint layout, and then it is an object. So we are just returning boolean true or false depending on this situation. So that's it for these two methods. Okay, the question is, we have just added these images and headings, but where we are initializing these images and text. So to do that, at the end press Ctrl O to override the methods and search for instantiate item and click OK. In here, if you have ever used something called fragments, then you might be familiar with what I am going to do here. We first need to create at the top, just around this context, a global variable of layout inflator, and it will be layout inflator. Okay, in here, before returning, we are going to return the view basically, but before going to do that, let me quickly write the layout inflator. So basically, to use the design, we need this layout inflator inside the fragments as well. So as we have created the design in .xml file and we want to use that design, so we need to first request to the system to use that design, and then we are going to use the design in here. So simply write layout inflator is equal to the context in which we are going to use. As I told you, the context means which activity dot get system service, and in this system service we are again writing context dot layout inflator service. Sorry. Okay, the error is just saying that we need to cast it to layout inflator over here. That's it. Okay, we are just requested the system to that we want to use some layout. So in here we need to create a view is equal to layout inflator dot inflate, and in here the first thing we have to define the layout itself that we want to use is we just created slides underscore layout, and it will be in the container. As you can see, we can pass these two things, but the third one, which is the boolean, is optional but attached to root. We are just going to put the false, and by default it's also false. Okay, what we have done is we simply created we request the system that we want to use the service of the design, then which design. First we get that request, and then we are going to point to that layout, which is slides underscore layout we have just created. So inside the view we have that design. So now we can get those images, text, and also we can set them as well. So we have three things. The first one is image view is equal to, we have every object inside our view, so we must have to write the view instead of find view by id. Write view dot find view by id, and simply r dot id dot slider image. Press Ctrl D 3 times. Okay, we have just pointed these three things from the design to you can say these are the hooks from the design, because we have just pointed our design here. As you guys know, once we get these hooks, we can set them as well. So we are going to set image view dot set image resource file, and this resource file will be array we have used, which are the images, and on which location we are going to pass the position. So we have this position over here, and we are going to pass this position. So we will set that image each time and the image we have get from this position. So make sure you write the images in proper format, the format you want to show. Okay, same for, press Ctrl D to duplicate. Same for the headings and text, headings, and for the descriptions. Change this image view to heading and description. It is not the image resource, so we need to write set text and also set text over here. So that's it. We just have to write the last thing, which is container, which is the which is this one, the view group. So container dot add view, and inside we have to pass this view. That's it. And also we don't want to return the default one, but we want to return this view we have just created. So this view basically holds this new data of the images, descriptions, and this thing only. Okay, close this one. Then the last one is we want to override. Press Ctrl O to override, to destroy item. We don't want to use the default one, but we want to use this container dot remove view. and inside the view we have created was the constraint layout, and then we have the object. So the first thing is we have set this view, then we instantiate that items and change that items for each slide, and then the last thing is we have just destroyed that. Very simple. So that's it, we are done with our slider adapter. Move to our onboarding.java screen, and in here, as you can see, we have created our view pager and we have created our relative layout. So the first thing is we need to create these hooks. So view pager will be let it be view pager. Then we have a linear layout for the dots and name it dots. Okay, for now I am just going to call these two, but we have to use multiple ones. We have to use all these variables we have just declared, but currently I am using the view pager and then this linear layout which holds the dots. Okay, right, view pager is equal to find view id. What's its id? Its id is slider or .id dot slider. Press Ctrl D to duplicate for 2 times. We haven't assigned the id over here. Its id will be dots, and it is saying that you need to set the orientation. The default one is horizontal, so let it be horizontal. Okay, go back to the onboarding screen and r.id dot the dots we have just created. Okay, these are basically the hooks here. Then we want to call our slider adapter class. So to call that, we first have to define the variable slider adapter, and in here we want to create its reference. Slider adapter is equal to new slider adapter, and as I told you, we have created a constructor, so we have to pass this, means this activity, which is onboarding dot this. Then we have to set the view pager dot set adapter, and the adapter will be slider adapter. To run this application, we first have to call this onboarding screen. So open the splash screen. So the first one which will be running is a splash screen, and we are calling the user dashboard after 5 seconds. Now we are going to call onboarding and run the application. Okay, so our application is running. You can see the splash screen, and after 5 seconds you can see we are currently rotating our slides from the top, but you cannot see any dots. At the left bottom we have a button, we have get started button, but you cannot see any dots here. It is also working, so let's add the dots here now. Okay, to create the dots, it's a simple process. So the function we need to create is private void add dots, or maybe add dots, that's enough. Okay, inside this function we need, okay, so first of all, how we are going to add or to create the dots. So we are going to create the dots using text view, and the text view will be an array, and its name will be dots. Is already defined. Oh, okay, sorry about that. We are going to change this as dots layout and to dots layout. So these are the dots basically. So inside we first want to create these dots in using the text view. So how many dots we have? Dots is equal to new text view, and we are going to use 4 slides. Yes, so pass the 4 in here. We need 4 text views. And then the next thing is to create these views, we are going to use the for loop. So write for int I is equal to 0, I is less than dots dot length, and I plus plus. Okay, inside this for we have to write dots of the I position or at the current position is equal to new. So this is basically simply creating the text view is equal to new text view, and inside this we need to pass this activity where we want to show this text view inside this onboarding screen. So that's it for this line. Then again we are going to call the dots of I dot set text. We want to set the text of that specific dots. The text will be we want to create that dot. So to create that dot we can use the simple HTML for that. HTML dot from HTML, and inside you can pass this special character. You can get this from the link description below. Okay, after that we need to set the size dots of I dot text size, set text size, and it will be 35 in size. Maybe we can change the color as well, and you can play with all these settings. These are simply text views, so you can change them as the way you want. So that's it for now for the for loop. And the last thing, we want to add these dots on our layout, so which is the dots layout. So sets dots layout dot add view, and it is simply dots of I location. So the error is gone. Okay, so before running this application we need to call the add dots function inside the onCreate, and let's run the application. So after splash screen you can see we have a dots at the layout we have just placed, but when we are changing the slides you can see our dots are not changing. So it is a very simple thing, so let's quickly do that. So for the dots, to change the color, we just want to get the current slide, and to get the current slide using the page view pager, we have one by default method, and it is, you just have to write view pager dot on change listener and create a variable. Change listener is equal to new view pager dot on change listener. So we have currently 3 overridden methods over here, but we are not going to deal with any of them. Just add a semicolon at the end. And on the current page, as we just want to use this page, on which page we are, so we are at this page and we want to call this function add dots, and just pass the position in it. So it is saying that we are not receiving the variables here. So that's it for this function. Close this one, and in here we just have to receive an integer type of position, and at the top where we are calling the onCreate, just pass 0 as a position, the default position. Okay, for this position what we want to do is, after this for loop, we just to make sure that there is something, if dots dot length greater than 0, that means there is something. Then we just have to write dots of that specific position which we have just passed in here. It is not the I because we are not in the for loop. So dot set text color, and we want to get the resources. Where are get resources dot get color, and the color we are going to use is r dot color primary dark, or maybe the okay, let's hit primary dark. Okay, once we have added this, you can see currently this variable is not in use. We haven't called this one. So again, go to this on create, and where we are calling this add dots, and just after that write the view pager, which is view pager dot, you can see it is page change listener. So write dot add on page change listener, and in that we need to call this change listener variable. So that's it for the calling. We just have to write a single line inside our add dots, because you can see we are just creating the dots but not clearing the view each time. So we just have to make sure that this linear layout, the dots layout, should clear every time. So write dots layout dot remove all views. That's it, and again run the application. Okay, now let's change it, and you can see our slides are changing, and we are not getting any error. You can simply bold it, or you can play with this text view because it's just a simple text view. So you can change it as per your own requirements. Okay, so the next thing we want to do is we want to hide this button, let's get started button, until we have reached to our last slide. And also we want to create a button at the right top corner which will be saying a skip button, and then this next button will should also be workable if the user don't want to perform this using the slider. So this video went too long, so in the next video we are just going to do this. And also the very important thing we are going to create in the next video is this onboarding screen should be appeared only once, not again and again to the user. So when the user downloaded or uses the application for the first time, we want to show this. So for that we're going to use the shared preferences. So the next one will be the shorter video. So let's move to the next video, to the next section or the part B of this video. So thank you for watching this tutorial. So stay tuned, and if you learned something new till now, please like the video. If you are new to the channel, please subscribe it. So let's jump to the part B.